I want to recognize that I appreciate that none of you members have asked for this very awkward and sometimes embarrassing responsibility. And I truly believe that, that the Constitution requires that we have a standard of conduct that's expected of members of Congress, no matter how long they have served. The reason I asked this proceeding to be delayed or postponed is because I am without counsel. This committee has suggested to me by letter that it would be possible for me to set up a legal defense fund. But this was 2 weeks ago. And now the procedure is moving forward before we've had an opportunity to set up that fund. But far more important than that, to me, is a question of due process. Not just for me, but for any member of Congress when accused of anything, they should have a lawyer. On several occasions, I've spoken with Chief Counsel, I've spoken with the chair, and I have required. On October 22nd, the chair lady sent me a letter and basically denied me the opportunity to get a lawyer for 3 reasons. One, because this matter has been going on for over 2 years. And because during this period of time, I've had counsel. Well, that is true, but it's not my fault that it took 2 years before the statement of alleged violation was reported. And I'd like to add that during this period of time, my lawyers were charging me while you were investigating. When the charges of over $2 million, and I could not convince them that I'll be able to pay what one of the lawyers said could be $1 million for the hearing, they withdrew. The committee knew that they withdrew. So the argument that this has been going on for 2 years, it is accurate, but I don't see how it relates to me not being able to have counsel before you today. The second issue has been raised, and I think Mr. McCall, whose background and experiences know, I have been asking for this matter to be aired. I have been begging that my colleagues in the Congress, that my constituents, that my family have the opportunity to air this. My family has caught hell as a result of what has been out there. All I've asked was, when can we develop these charges? When can people be exposed to what it is? And this really meant with counsel. You have said, Mr. McCall, that there's been 40 witnesses that you've called. You've indicated that there are 30 pages of testimony. I have not been able to explain my position ever because of rules of confidentiality, because I have been restricted. But each time that I've asked for a hearing, do any of you believe that I was asking for a hearing without counsel? And all I'm doing is asking for the opportunity to have counsel. I still feel strongly that the Congress and the community should know what I have been charged with and what the testimony is. But by the same token, I had hoped that you would do it before the Democratic primary. It would have been helpful if you had done it before the general election. But for whatever reason, when I made my plea on the floor, when I had counsel, that was not done. I might even add that when my opponent and critics were charging me with corruption and allegations of crime, I really had hoped and thought that this committee was not just there to find wrongdoing, but would say that one of your colleagues, there was no evidence of criminal activity. There was no self-dealing. There was no bribery. I just thought fairness would dictate that this would be said. Maybe I'm not entitled to it, but I certainly didn't get it. And so the whole idea that I'm denied counsel because I've been screaming for a hearing, that really doesn't take away from the argument is that I am being denied the right to have a lawyer right now because I don't have the opportunity to have a legal defense fund set up, and because I can't afford another $1 million and can't even promise that to council. But quite frankly, committee members, it's the third reason that the chair has given to me that pains me the most as to why I'm not entitled to a delay. I'm not entitled to a postponement, because this matter perhaps could not be resolved before the end of this session of Congress. Can you tell me under what theory of fairness would dictate that I be denied due process, that I be denied an attorney because there is going to be the end of this session? When we know that I would be entitled if we had more time. That's what you're saying. What does it mean that we having Thanksgiving and Christmas and perhaps congressional trips preparing for the next Congress? How far does this go to a person not having counsel, not having due process because we don't have time? Well, I think we ought to find the time. I'm prepared to stay here to get counsel and to have a hearing on this. What prevents us from doing it? And then to add that, as I stand before you, I have no idea as to how counsel intends to proceed. A week ago, 80 pages of what could be considered summary judgment, I think would indicate that this committee may not be prepared to call witnesses. That this committee would ask that a judgment be made based on admissions and exhibits. I've had no lawyer to look at this, but to me it just sounds unfair to say that because of limitations of time, we won't even go through the process of calling witnesses. I hope that you interrupt me and tell me, counsel, that this is not so. But on the other hand, if it did want to have the appearance of fairness, Mr. McCall said that you've spoken with 40 witnesses or more, that there's 30,000 pages of testimony. Am I entitled to know what they testified to? I've been given deadlines in terms of how to respond, what witnesses I would want to subpoena. But I have been denied that opportunity. If the chair is suggesting that I conclude my remarks, then I would do that. But I would want you to know that I don't think it's fair that I participate in any type of proceeding if in fact what you are basically telling me that the political calendar will not allow you enough counsel, enough time to allow me to get a lawyer at this crucial point in my life. 50 years of public service is on the line. I truly believe that I'm not being treated fairly and that history will dictate that notwithstanding the political calendar, I am entitled to a lawyer during this proceeding. I want to thank you for your courtesy. There's a lot of pain that I feel because I fought in the wars. I've prosecuted in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I've served as a legislator in the state. I am so proud of my record in the Congress. I love this Congress. I love this country. I think I'm entitled to more than is being suggested today. Thank you so much for this courtesy.
Thank you, Mr. Rangel. Before turning to committee counsel, I would just note for the record, and I will put into the record the exchange referred to by Mr. Rangel, so this will not be a mystery to the public. But I would note that we were advised that Mr. Rangel's counsel withdrew a little over a month ago, and further counsel has not been retained and that the committee has indicated an intent to proceed today.